Tavin will mow your grass and make it look so well. Now Tavin goes donut goals when in town he comes, getting strength for his haunches to cannonball for fun. Tavin, ramping up the holler, Tavin, trying to make a dollar, Tavin, give him a holler, he'll mow your grass today.
Hey y'all guys, it's the Tavin Dillard Podcast. Now, if you listening for the very first time to this podcast, it's like a radio show. I ain't assuming that this is the first time you ever listened to a podcast, but if you ain't, it's like a radio show. But if it's the first time you listening to this one, you might think, you might have an inkling, you might have an idea, or maybe like a notion that you probably listening to Tavin Dillard, because that's the name of the podcast. So who else would be the feller talking? And you right, it's me. I'm Tavin Dillard. If you have listened to the podcast before, welcome back. It's good to be chatting with you again. And you probably know for sure this is Tavin Dillard because you listened before. Don't matter no how. Here we are. Season's 11, like I said, episode 5 of this season already. I'm Tavin Dillard. We got that figured out already by now. I'm a mowing, edging, grass cutting legend. I got Tavin's Lawn Care Services. So I do a little work in town, a lot of work in town, truth be told. I play a little softball, a lot of softball right now because season's on. And there's all kind of things to catch you up on. You know, the housekeeping. It's been a busy week. Thank y'all for listening to last week's episode about the long-necked hummingbird and the painting that Imogene Watkins is doing and all the butter that showed up down at the softball fields on them hot butter dinner rolls. It's softer than a baby angel's leg. And the softball season motors on. It motors on, and we got to update this today. And by we, I got one for y'all in a little bit on how this past week's game went. There is the Team Burger Shed book that you may have heard about. Some of y'all have bought it, and it tells you all about how Team Burger Shed, my adult softball league team, came together in our very first season, and all the kind of stuff that just went on that season. It was a wild up and down ride of all kind of things. So you could check that out in the show notes today if you want to get a hold of a copy of that book. You can do that. Another thing you could do is look at the website, Cruise with Tavin. Boy, we are getting ready to go on a cruise. I mean, it's a year away, let's be honest. But I'm trying to get folks the information they need. We're getting sign-ups going so that we know who to expect on the cruise ship, leaving out of New Orleans, going down to Western Caribbean, Cozumel, holding a baby sloth. They got a zip line on the cruise ship. You don't even have to be docked nowhere, I guess. You're just cruising along and zip lining. They got water slides. All kind of things. I mean, a hydrotherapy pool on there. I don't know. It's like it's good for you and you're relaxing. But anyhow, live music. There's for sure going to be comedy on this ship. It's going to be like the ultimate meet and greet on this cruise ship, the Tavin Cruise. So I'm going to have a link in the show notes today on all the information on that. So I hope you can check that out. You know, get involved, be a part of it all. And everything like that. So that's what you're going to see today in the show notes. We'll leave it at the Tavin, the Team Burger Shed book that I wrote, and the Tavin Cruise that I just talked about. And then the other things you'll see how to text me, 501-322-6249. I like hearing from y'all during the week. I texted folks last week that were reaching out, and if you got a birthday, I usually remember to send you a text on your birthday too. So that's a hoot. And then the email, tavindillard@gmail.com. If, you know, that's business inquiries, but not all, because I'm about to get to an email I got this week that's going to kind of kick off today's episode. But before I get to that, you know, live shows. I've been looking at doing more live shows. And then if you want to book one, you got a venue, like, hey, come, let's get this going, come out to where we're at. We can work that out. So that's what you'll see there too, is the email, tavindillard@gmail.com. So Christopher Caruso, he shot me an email this past week. I don't have it in front of me exactly what he said, but it was basically like, hey, why don't you tell us about one of your dreams? I'm like, I guess it's been a while. I've had some wild dreams, y'all, and if you've been around for a minute or two, you know that. You know, I had one not too long ago where I was I was just watching, you know, in a dream you kind of watch it. Sometimes it's like happening to you. Sometimes you feel like you just watching it, like it's a movie or whatever. But there was a possum that had a peg leg, and he was begging for shortbread cookies outside Rickard's grocery store. And you know, he was like mad if you didn't give him a shortbread cookie, you know, and he was acting like, boy, I'm disabled. I got one leg, I got one regular possum leg, and then I got a wooden peg leg, so can't you help a possum out, kind of thing. Well, my Meemaw went by in that dream, and she said, I ain't gonna help you or whatever. Boy, he took a swipe at her with that peg leg, tried to swing it around at her, and she ducked or jumped or got out the way or whatever, and she had a burlap sack, and she had a violin inside that burlap sack. I don't know, Meemaw don't play the violin, but in a dream she had it in that bag, and she took a swing at that possum, whatever, and he tried to duck it and dodge it. Well, he fell backwards. Turned out that peg leg he didn't need. He had another regular possum leg. He had 2 regular possum legs in that dream. And Kevin Rickard came in, and he was collecting all the cookies that little possum collected and everything. And he said, time to make a smoothie, like that away. Like he was going to use, I guess, shortbread cookies to make a smoothie. You know, in a dream you think like something's happening and you're like, well, that don't make no sense. But in a dream you're like, well, it makes kind of sense. Like you figure, well, that's just the way the world is. So anyways, Kevin Rickard said it's time to make a smoothie, I guess with shortbread cookies. And that peg leg possum hollered, just, I'm allergic, like that away. And about that time, this catfish on a dirt bike with a hat on backwards revved up to the scene, and the old possum peg leg, he hopped on the back of that dirt bike, and they went out to the lake to perform some more hijinks, as it were. And the old Kevin Rickard, I guess he went back in the grocery store, but that shortbread cookie collecting possum, he didn't end up with any shortbread cookies. So that's a dream I did have, but I got a new one, because I think Christopher was emailing me saying, hey, well, any new dreams lately or whatever? I do. Y'all want to hear it? Okay. I'm riding a shoehorn, you know, over the rapids, like in a river that's coming up on a waterfall. And the shoehorn's like the size of a saddle. So, you know, it's like it's big enough for a full-grown man like myself to be riding it down these rapids. And I come to this waterfall, and I might, one key fact about this water that I'm in, it's glaze. Like glaze for a donut. Like it's just a swift moving river of glaze. And I hit that waterfall, buddy. I'm hanging on to that shoehorn, saddled size shoehorn raft, you know, kind of thing. It's a shoehorn. But, you know, I'm using it as a raft. It ain't helping me getting my shoes on or nothing like that in the dream. So I get over that waterfall there, and on the bank below, the river bank below, that basically that waterfall fed into a river. And, you know, along the river banks, a herd of buffalo, and they got loafers next to them. Now, steady loafers, you know how like you put on a pair of loafers like you wear shoes. That's what humans do. Buffaloes don't. Well, I land at the bottom of that waterfall, and I'm just cruising along. Well, those buffaloes look up and see me on a shoehorn, and they holler at me like, give us that shoehorn. And I was like, y'all don't need buffalo loafers. Y'all got hooves, you know, like that away. Like a buffalo don't need to go to a shoe store. They don't need shoes, kind of thing. And they said, that's our style. You know, they let me know like the loafers is how they like to style. So I'm talking to these buffaloes on a saddle-sized shoehorn in a river of glaze, and we about to have an argument. We basically are. I say to them, you don't need this. And they say, it's our style. Now sign the contract. They said, you need to write it in cursive. Turned out like whatever this contract was, I needed to sign it. Well, what did they hand me to sign this contract with that I ain't even read yet? And I didn't have no attorney there, nobody to give me no legal advice in the middle of this dream. All I know was that I needed to, these buffaloes wanted me to sign the contract and give them a shoehorn. Well, I mean, I'm thinking I want to get on down this river, and I can't just float it, you know, without a raft, which is what the shoehorn is. Don't matter no how. They hand me a breadstick, a brittle breadstick. The breadstick was brittle. It's a brittle breadstick. So this brittle breadstick, it basically means it's like, I don't know if it's stale so much, but it was really like, it wasn't no give to it. You know, like a good breadstick that might have some Parmesan on it and butter, you know, like it bend because it's bread. You know how bread do. Well, this was more like pretzel, you know, and it broke. So I wasn't signing no contract with this brittle breadstick. And boy, they were so upset. Them Buffaloes were so mad at me. They're like, now we never going to get these shoes on kind of thing. And I hopped back in the swift flowing glaze, and I woke back up. But before I did, I dipped my finger back in that glaze because I was like, well, I ain't even tried this yet. And it's good, and it's real. Like, everything was very real, except it was a dream. So it wasn't. But them shoes, like them loafers them Buffaloes put on, were probably like size 16. I don't know if they even would have fit them Buffalo. I don't know, but that was the dream. What's it mean? I don't know. That ain't my problem. I'm just telling you I had it. So thanks for reaching out about that, Chris, and that's the update. Now, speaking of updates, Team Burger Shed, the adult league softball team that I am on, is currently 9 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie heading into this week's game. That's what we was, 9-4-1. We played McIntyre's Maintenance. They new this season. The team is, not the business. The maintenance business for McIntyre's has been around a lot of time, but the team is decided they want to, McIntyre's Maintenance sponsored a softball team. So we know them because we live in town with the folks on the team, but we ain't never played this team because this is the first time them being a team. Don't matter no how. That's who we playing, and I'm going to let you know about that game. I'm going to tell you it was a wild one, and that basically, when I say something's wild when it comes to softball, it means there's a lot of runs got scored. Like, usually, if it's 1-0, it wasn't a wild game. You wouldn't call it like, oh, that's a wild game. And I don't mean wild game like we hunting for a deer. I'm talking about like between the lines of the softball field, that game got a little crazy. So just be ready for that. But before I get to that, Cheryl Grubbs, you know her. She owns Donut Goes in town. I had a blueberry cake donut last week. I don't know if you saw that video on the Instagrams or the TikToks or the YouTubes or the Facebooks, but it's always in style. The blueberry cake donut, it's always in style. They got good ones down at Donut Goes too, just so you know. But Cheryl's known for being the owner of Donut Goes now. And she's been around in town a while. It's not all she's known for because she had a life before she opened up Donut Goes. Her and her husband Shane, they got 2 kiddos, Maisley and Perry Lee. They got a doggy named Jalapeno. They got a Chevy Cobalt that's basically a Jalapeno's car now. That dog tore up the back of that thing to the point where they can't keep the windows up no more. It stank too bad. Like, it stank because that dog's ate up the back seat, got tummy aches in the back seat, messed in the back seat, and I guess if you roll the windows up, people will be messing in the front seat, throwing up and that kind of thing. You know, you don't want to throw up on the dashboard because it can go all kinds of places in the car. Anyhow, that's their family. Cheryl coaches a junior cheer team too. Maisley's on that cheer team. Cheryl also got stuck in a bike rack at Rickard's grocery store a few years back. She don't like to talk about it, and the police and the fire department, they don't like to talk about it. I think it's one of those things where it's like nobody could figure out how a full-grown woman, including Cheryl, she couldn't figure out, or she don't at least want to tell anybody how in the world she got stuck in a bike rack, what she's doing over there. She ain't even got a bike. So anyhow, Cheryl Grubbs, that's who she is. Her husband, Shane. And then one time, at the chili cook-off dance, she clinched up on a dance floor. I guess that ran through her too fast. Like, she got some real spicy one that was really bad on her guts. It must run in their family. Even Jalapeno got the bad guts, but they had to carry her off the dance floor before she made a mess there. And, it's her husband, Shane, and her daddy helped do that and get her off the floor and carry her to a safe place where she could take care of business. Anyhow, Shane is Cheryl's husband. He really into metal detecting. That's where you find things that are like made out of metal, and then you got a magnet on there or something. Well, it detects it. It starts beeping, and then you got to dig for it and find, what did it land on? Was it a treasure, or was it not? And of course, Shane helps with Donut Goes, the business they run in town. But this week he was out behind the old Tractor Supply. It's basically the turn you make to get out to Chet Dilroy's property. And Chet, his wife Gracie and her sister Delondra, they run Early Bird Gets the Perm. Chet do mule rides out there on their property. They grandbaby Candy, she live in my trailer park, Chancellor Park, Candy Dilroy. She catches all kinds of wild animals. Anyhow, it's that Tractor Supply right there in the corner that became a Pizza Hut, and then it became a pawn shop. Anyhow, he's out there. Shane Grubbs is out behind that, and, just on that property, pinging on some things. You know about that? Like nails, aluminum cans, recent coins, that ain't real old ones, nothing much yet, when all of a sudden Shane hears something out there. Because right now, that ain't a business there. It's just where businesses was. Maybe the pawn shop's still working, but you never know when they open. So they got stuff all around. But they let Shane, on that back area just to see what kind of stuff he can find. If it's on a table with a tarp over it, he can't be like, oh, look what I found here on this table. But like out in the yard area, you know what I mean. Anyhow, Shane's back there. And there's old tables, with them tarps on them out there, and something scares Shane. Like he's startled, steady, like froze, like big old wide-eyed, bank, bank, what's that noise kind of thing. He didn't know. He don't know what it is, but that tarp is moving. So it's one of them tarps on the table. So like it ain't like probably no spooky ghost or nothing like that, but something's under there that's alive. And so Shane don't know. It could be a number of things that fit under a tarp that's alive that ain't good for you to encounter. So either he leaves because he don't know what this thing is and he want to be safe, and he's like, well, I ain't going to figure it out, so I'm just going to go and come back and hope the next time I come back that tarp's not moving no more, or else he figures out, he stick around, he figures out what's making that noise. These are like the options that Shane got as he's like thinking about this stuff. It's like, what's making that noise? What's making that noise? So he gently leans the metal detector against his truck. And now his pickup truck, he don't let jalapeno in that truck. So it's in good shape. Like it smell good and he keep it pretty clean and all that kind of thing. Well, now he hands free. He ain't holding a metal detector. He creeping over to this moving tarp. He makes his way over there. And he gently reaches for that tarp. This is the one that's been moving, y'all guys. This is the one that scared him. So Shane, he brave enough to walk over there and gently kind of just grab that tarp. It's a blue tarp. I don't know what color tarp you're thinking of, but it's a blue tarp on just an old wooden table that's got, you can tell there's junk under there, like they just cover it up when they ain't open, and they pull the tarp off when they is open, and then you can look at what they got to sell. Well, he's creeping over there and grabbed his blue tarp, not because he want to see what they selling, right? You know this. He's seeing what in the world is making that rustling underneath that tarp, making that tarp move like that away. So he pulled that tarp back, and pickle boon, it's a baby possum rooting around under a tarp on top of that table. Shane screams. Like he pulled on and let out a scream. It startled him, like that way. He can tell this little guy's on his own and like he ain't going to make it. Like this ain't a possum that looks like he's about to survive. It's abandoned or whatever. So he has to decide if he going to let nature take its course, and that little possum just don't make it, and then all of a sudden maybe something eat it, or, it just don't live. Or is he going to help this thing? And, Shane, his wheels is turning. He's like, well, I feel bad now. He could have walked away before he knowed what was under there. And like, well, maybe the wind blowed it, or it's a kitty cat that's going to go on this way. But now Shane know. Now Shane know it wasn't the wind blowing. And now Shane know it wasn't no kitty cat that's going to be on this way. He know it's a baby possum that needs help. Now what is Shane Grubbs going to do? Well, Shane got to thinking. He put on what you call his thinking cap. It ain't a real cap, you just thinking about it. He just thinking, and he thought of somebody who could probably help this possum. Somebody who probably, in quotes, works with animals. Not as a job, but as a recreation, I guess you'd call it. Can you guess who it'd be? Well, if you think Mary Beth Tucker because she works at the veterinary, I'll tell you now that ain't it. I'm talking about somebody that recreates and enjoys the animals, but that ain't their job. And they might not even admit that they enjoy them, but we all know the real story. Can you guess who it is? This person's caught a skunk. I'll tell you that. Wanted to give that skunk a bath, if that help you. And currently, they got a pet possum named Possum Keith, who she says ain't her pet. That's right. Millie Ricks. Shane decides to load up and take this little possum to Millie to see if she'll take it. Now, I told you he don't let that dog get jalapeno in his truck, but he let this baby possum. It was moving kind of slow, like it was hungry and tired or docile, or maybe got the bubonic plague. I don't know, but apparently Shane wasn't afraid to put that in the front seat of the cab of his truck and drive to Millie Rick's house with it. And it had a little towel in there, so it just kind of stayed on that thing, I guess. He didn't buckle it up because it wouldn't have worked. Like, I didn't go to school for seat belts, but there ain't no way like a truck seat belt is going to hold in a baby possum just based on size and angles. And I don't know the math of it all, but you can kind of figure it out if you think about it in your head, or maybe if you try to buckle in a baby possum, you'll know how that don't work. But that's how it went. He didn't do that. He just drove that possum in the bed, or the cab of his truck. Over to Millie Rick's house to see if she's going to take it. So he takes it to Millie. She's excited. You know, she starts getting kind of excited. You can tell in her eyes. She's like, whoa, look at that thing. Ain't that cute? You know, but she makes it clear that she ain't got no pets. She's like, well, that is a neat looking possum. I probably could maybe help it for a little bit. I don't have any pets of my own, as Possum Keith climbs off her couch behind her to see who's at the door. Okay? Feed that new one. She said she's going to feed that new one with an eyedropper. And I'm thinking, okay, Millie Ricks, you ain't got no pets except Possum Keith, who's hanging out, lounging out on your couch middle of the day, and now you got an eyedropper handy in case a baby animal comes along that you got to feed. Boy, she's ready for it. Like Shane, boy, hit the nail on the head thinking of Millie to take care of this docile possum, baby possum. She says, I'll just keep him for a little while until he has his strength back. And Shane smiles, like, okay, Millie, sounds good. And then he's back to that old pawn shop. So, mission accomplished. Good on you, Shane. You didn't find no treasure yet, unless you call a tired baby possum. It's an abandoned treasure. But he found a home for it. And he went back. He wasn't done. Shane ain't no quitter. So he went back and he, kept metal detecting around this property. He must have felt like he was onto something, or he just likes the thrill of the hunt, because he kept at it. And he found what seems to be, now I don't know, but what the talk of the town and what Shane's saying, it seems to be a Civil War era coin. Now that's old. That ain't new. That ain't no some 20-24 aluminum Dr. Pepper can, kind of thing. This is like a real treasure. That's what you call focus, though. Start metal detecting, deliver a baby possum to Millie Rick's house, back to metal detecting, and finding what seems to be a Civil War treasure. Good on you, Shane. I'm telling y'all guys, that treasure was all the talk down at the ball fields this week. Folks is giving Shane advice, telling him maybe it's worth $1 million. You need to go get that old praised. Boy, you need to go to one of them TV shows where people say, well, I just found this in my granny's dining room table. I just think it's worth $11. And they say, oh, no, you got yourself a $400,000 doily on your hands, that kind of thing. So folks has got all kind of ideas for Shane, saying, boy, you got $1 million. They don't know. Shane's a collector anyway. He ain't trying to get rid of that find. He's trying to find stuff, so he got a treasure. He ain't looking to sell that stuff that he finds. So anyhow, people are yapping about that, but we got to get on the field. Team Burger Shed, my softball team, we got to get on the field and play. Russell Tucker, Rusty Tidwell, Mort Dwidell, Myron Curtis, J.T. Whitlow, Cody Briggs, Brody Childress, me, Rance Farnhart. We got the whole team there. And we got to play, and we playing McIntyres. We ain't got no category for them. We know them as folks, but we don't know them as a softball team yet. And I'll tell you this, y'all guys, McIntyre's maintenance, they came ready to play. They whooped us for 4 innings. It's 10-0. Big old goose egg by the end of the 4th inning. And what in the world just happened? We looked around like 10-0. What's happening, y'all guys? We ain't the best team in the world, but we ain't the team that gets whooped, gets completely shut out, and we don't even find a way to cross home base by the 4th inning. They hit us right in the mouth. J.T. Whitlow's girlfriend, that's Whitney, that's Cody Mantell's cousin. He's on our team too. Anyway, she left the game and showed back up with air horns. More than one. I don't know where she gets these, and I can't tell you how many times they have been confiscated from her. Folks is like, knock it off with the air horns, Whitney. Like, she wants attention. It ain't really like she wants folks to be cheering for a team kindly, but mostly like she want all eyes on her. And the air horn will do that. She volunteered to sing the national anthem. We don't want her doing that. and make it all about her. But anyhow, she came back to the fields with a whole collection of air horns. I don't know where she found them. You know, we got Shane Grubbs over there collecting Civil War treasure, and we got Whitney collecting air horns from somewhere. And we usually mad about that, but at this point in the game, what do we have to lose? Like, hey, might as well blow an air horn. We had to start playing too, though. Rusty Tidwell, I mean, he hates to lose. I never met anybody that likes losing, but Rusty Tidwell hates it. I mean, he's the best athlete on our team, and I'm telling you right now, he wasn't about to stand for this. He got tailgate art on his lowered mini truck too. Some of the best tailgate art in the whole Tri-County area. Like, he got like I think it's like a crocodile or alligator with like a M16, like holding a rifle, and he's aiming it at a 12-point buck. You know, the rifle, which, I mean, that ain't really sporty, but it's basically saying this alligator don't play by the rules. And the 12-point buck's just sitting there all majestic, and then there's a catfish just jumping out toward her over the whole thing. And boy, the way the art and the detail and the paint, boy, people talk about that, people just go shake his hand. You know, Rusty the Patriot. Anyhow, he got this beautiful tailgate art, and he's ready not to lose either. He told Myron Curtis and Mort Dwidell, they bat before him, he said, just hit singles. He told them two old boys to hit singles, just make it to first base, he said. Well, Mort can't hit a single. Myron did, but Mort hit a dinger. So now it's 10-2 before Rusty even gets to bat, and then Rusty laid into one, it's 10-3. So now we on the board. You know, we ain't close, but we on the board. JT Whitlow, you know, that's Whitney's boyfriend. She's over here with those air horns, and we kind of hate it, but we're like, hey, maybe it's going to distract the other team too. You know, everybody got to listen to this. So JT doubled. Team Burger Shed, we got a slow heartbeat. I will say that for our team. We got a slow heartbeat. We don't get worked up about stuff. Well, sometimes I do when Mary Beth Tucker brings too much nonsense to the concession stand. But I'm telling you, we can steady focus on the field. We just need to settle in and play our game. I hit a dribbler down the third base line, okay? And JT Whitlow, he went over to third on that dribbler after he hit that double. And then they overthrew first base, so I was safe. And then JT went home on the overthrow, and now all of a sudden it's 10-4. So now you see how this is going. Brody Childers homered. Hello. I scored. Brody did too. I slid across home base. I didn't need to, but I was feeling it and needed a little slide. Nothing wrong with that. A little spirit. Now it's 10-6. Russell Tucker hit a single. Whitney threw an empty air horn on the field. Now, she didn't need to do that. I mean, that distract everybody, and they got to stop the game for that. It's a delay of game. It's what they call a delay of game. Nobody loses like a run or nothing like that. Like you don't get a penalty like that. But we did ask Whitney to knock it off, and she did. You can't be throwing it on the field. You just got to. That's the thing. Like, I let the concession stand get in my head sometimes, like the stuff and the hijinks and the shenanigans that go on over there, and that's my fault, because I got to focus on what's between the lines of the field, you know, running, hitting, stealing first base, that kind of stuff, fielding the ball. But when you enter the field to play, like Whitney did, and you throwing stuff onto the field, well, then that's where it's a no-no. It's not just that we got to win the battle between our ears and be like, boy, let's focus. Now we got to battle, you know, not stepping on an air horn and that kind of thing. And so that ain't right. So they got to stop the game and get that thing off the field. So we was in it. I mean, we fought back. We clawed back. By the end of the game, the score was 13 runs to 12 runs. McIntyre's Maintenance won, but I think by the end it kind of felt like a loss to them since they was up 10-0, and Team Burger Shed came thundering back the way we did. Felt like a loss to us though too, of course, because, well, we lost. So that's how it was. So now we 9 wins to 5 losses to 1 tie, 9-5-1. Enjoy them snow cones, McIntyre's Maintenance. They earned it. You know, but they almost let it slip out their hands. As they almost dropped the snow cone, so to speak. No hot buttered dinner rolls. That was softer than a baby angel's leg tonight. We had enough distractions, truth be told, so we didn't need that. You know what I'm doing though this week, y'all guys? I'm looking to do some fishing. What about you? What's your plans? I know hunting season's cranked up. There's a lot going on. I'm hoping it stays cool. Start to cool off a little bit. Start to feel a little cooler. I did have my first pumpkin helmet of the season last week. I posted that on the Instagrams, the Facebook, the YouTubes, the TikToks. If you're on the social media, you can check me out there. You know, little snack bites of videos. They ain't real long. Now, I do put this podcast on the YouTubes. It's not videoed, though, so you just looking at one picture and hearing me talk like I'm doing right now. But that is on the YouTubes for longer stuff. But most of it's pretty short stuff that you find, but I hope you can do that. And just, you know what really helps? People following me on them platforms, kind of growing my audience, sharing it, liking the videos. I love reading your comments on my videos. I do read them, so you can leave me a comment. I try to read, I try to get to those and even comment back to a lot of folks on there. So, I mean, we can interact that way this week too, while we're trying to nurse the pain of a unsuspected loss. We was not ready for a loss to McIntyre Maintenance, but we didn't know what to expect. Now we do. We still in it. We still fighting. We still doing our work, doing our job, putting in the time on the softball fields. And Shane Grubbs is putting in the time, looking for treasure. I don't know what the story's going to be on that thing he found, if it really is Civil War or not, but it's something. And good on Shane, buddy. You spend enough time searching for treasure. It's good when you find some, is the way I look at it. So check them show notes today, guys. If y'all want to pick up a copy of Team Burger Shed for yourself or a friend, a little gift, you can see that in the show notes, how to do that. The other thing you can do is check out that Tavern Cruise. I'd love to see you on the water. It's going to be a hoot of a time. There's a lot going on that cruise ship, a lot to do. Just a good week, the ultimate meet and greet, hanging out with me, and you're going to be refreshed, relaxed, enjoy it. You got time to plan it, so I hope you do. Check the show notes for that. Stay in touch for sure, 501-322-6249, or you can email me, tavindillard@gmail.com. I hope your dreams are great. I'm telling you, that glaze tastes good. Boy, when you're like, boy, that was a good dream. I wouldn't be mad to go back to that dream. I don't love getting hollered at by buffaloes because I'm on a shoehorn they want, but I don't know that shoehorn would have helped them. I didn't really get into all that with them. But anyways, I hope you have a good week. I appreciate you joining me here on the Tavin Dillard podcast. I'm glad we friends, and I'm glad we hanging out. And I hope you stay in touch. You can share the podcast too. Leave a comment on the platform you're listening on. I appreciate that. All that helps. It's free to do. You can just help me like that, and we friends, and I'll appreciate it. But have a good rest of your week, whatever you do. Enjoy it as it starts to feel a little bit more like the falls times. And hey, if you ain't Possum Keith, who's going to have to share the couch with a new baby possum this week, you having a pretty good week. Me, I'm Tavin Dillard. This is the Tavin Dillard Podcast. Till next time, y'all guys. We'll see you later.